Now, one of the goals I have always had, I always like to have every day in the shop be different than the day before. I don't enjoy days that are groundhog days, just repeating what happened the day or two before. And what I always try to do is, especially when I'm working on two projects at the same time, is try to lay out that each day is a little different and basically working around the weather. So last night I read the weather report, and there's good news and bad news. Good news is it's not supposed to rain today early in the morning, but it's going to rain after that the next 3 days. So what I wanted to do, I wanted to look around at any of the painting things that I want to do and try to get them painted this morning before we run into some really nasty weather. So the first part of the fairing that I put several extra coats of white on, several extra sand outs, that part to me is as good as I'm going to be able to make it. Steve's parts, we got rid of all the fish eyes. We got some clear on this already. This is going to be ready for a buffing test pretty soon. This really came out nice. And these parts were really, when Steve turned them over, he goes, ah, so many repairs. But it's okay. The side that you see is perfect, and they're stronger than regular parts. We got Steve the other day when Steve was here. We got his fender sanded out, and nice that we do have the fender. But basically, what I'm doing is playing a process of elimination. This only has the 1 or 2 coats of white. I call it 1 coat. We really did put 2. But what I want to do is a detailed sanding, very, very detailed of how I want to do it, and maybe get 1 more coat of white. That can be drying during those 3 days that it's raining. Now, this is good information. I think that's worth sharing. Last year, my compressor kind of pooped the goose, and these were on sale. And I had a coupon for, I don't know, 90% off or something, and I wound up getting it from Harbor Freight, of course. The compressor works great. It just regulates air beautifully. There's only one problem. There's a muffler. Now, the muffler that comes with it is useless, and it's so loud because it's in a confined room. It makes Karen crazy upstairs. You really can't talk on a phone while it's running. And I use it every day, but luckily there's a solution. So what had happened is John Pothier sent me a great little drawing, a picture of what he had done to his compressor to quiet it down. I'm going to see if I can do a similar thing. It's not real high tech. This is what's funny, is this the muffler that comes with it is really, you may leave it off, it's the same. But anyway, what will quiet it down, and I know from having made model airplane exhaust parts, which actually was part of my my business for about 20 years, making and designing exhaust systems. So, and a model airplane is no different than a go-kart, than a motorcycle, than a car. It's the same thing. Noise is noise. Sound travels in a straight line. Every time you bend sound, you lose a giant part of it. So the more times you can make sound go around a corner, the quieter it's going to be. Now, also another thing that I'm not sure about, because I bought this really thin wall tubing. Sound also, when sound goes into a muffler, not only does the sound come out where the hole is, but sound actually emanates from the wall. So if you have a thick wall, it's going to quiet it down a lot more than a thin wall. Now, we know that from having taken model airplane exhaust tuned pipes that are made out of aluminum, and when you make the same pipe, the exact same shape, out of carbon fiber, it's a lot quieter because the carbon fiber absorbs some of the noise. The aluminum acts like a tin can and makes it worse. But anyway, we're going to try to make it better than this. This is about $10 worth of stuff here. I got 2 fittings, and I thought I'd share when this all goes together. Just the idea. Now, a lot of times, and John, of course, has had a lot of great ideas over the. He does a lot of graphics and decals and computer work. We've partnered up on a lot of projects, and he'll be making the decals for this FZR project. But there's something that's really going to be nice if I can quiet this thing down just to the point you don't get a headache, because I'm running it hours at a time. Well, let's see if this works like I hope it will. So the first thing is, if I warm this tubing up, and it also takes some of the kinks out of it, Make sure it's not too hot. Now since it's a suction, that should never come off. That's nice and tight. Now we can put the muffler itself on here. Not even sure you need this muffler. And the other end, we have a fitting that'll screw into the compressor on one side, into the tubing on the other side, and we'll see how this works. Well, even though we're in an enclosed room, that seems like it's a little bit of an upgrade. John, looks like that worked out pretty good. So even a small thing like that, I'll just make our life a little bit more pleasant, because again, we do have this compressor running for a good part of the day. But I've always used the headphones in the past. We'll see if we need them in the future. But again, because we're in an enclosed room, it echoes it even worse. But there's no reason to have all that noise. I don't know if this one is unique, but it's certainly a nice upgrade. Thank you, John Pothier. Now, just to explain, a lot of people don't know this. Sound comes out of an intake side and an exhaust side, and of course, this is the intake side. It's sucking air. But the sound you hear when you give a motorcycle a gas that loud, oh, that's the intake noise, and that's what this is doing, is quieting that down some, which we'll see how this works in the long run. Also, because sound travels in a straight line, every time you can bend where the sound has to go, and into a soft tubing, the tubing itself is absorbing some of the sound waves. So that's one of the reasons that's such a simple thing. A couple of bucks and maybe 5 minutes of work, and you don't have to have a headache. Now the sandpaper I'm going to use is our best friend, the Indasa 600. So the first thing I want to do, and I'm doing it with a hard block, I want to go any of the spots I can feel, and there's still some little spots I can feel. This is the detail sanding. Is going to be take quite a bit of time. Doesn't really matter. We don't have a great painting day, but I would like to, if it's not raining or if the wind isn't going 200 miles an hour, get a final coat of white on this. I think one more coat will do it. The main thing is any little spot that I can feel with my hand. A lot of these you can't see. See, now this one here I can't see, but I could feel it. As soon as I hit it with the hard block, a little spot, a high spot comes through. See the high spot? So I'm going to be going over the whole part here. This is a step, if you left it out, you might get away with it, you might not, you don't know, but I don't want to take a chance. And again, that's the whole reason for doing these things in the winter, when you have time to do it right, not to rush through it. And there comes a little bit of a high spot coming through there. This is just time consuming. Yeah, I spent quite a bit of time on this, detailing all these little spots out. And I'm hoping this next coat of white, but again, you know, until it's perfect, I can do this over and over and over. Sand it, get to the point where you're just going through. I'm using Indasa 600, of course, and put another coat of white on, let it dry overnight, and repeat until it's perfect. So now we're ready to wipe this down with paper towels, prep it up, get it outside, and it's not raining yet. Now that's tacking up. I'm going to put a second coat right on top of that and hang it up to dry. But we still have a little time left in the day. And actually today, I was waiting for a day just like this. Because what I have is we're up to doing the service on this, the 32,000 mile service. The oil, we got a filter for it. And we actually got a gallon of Kawasaki oil. Can you believe that? How funny is that we have a gallon of Kawasaki oil? I just think that's priceless. Anyway, our white is drying up and we're ready. Steve's parts are basically ready for tape at this point. Starting tomorrow, if he has time, we're going to lay out some trim. I'm going to get some of the maintenance done on this, probably not all. And this is the problem. It's not a problem. This is the thing, when you have a lot of motorcycles, there's a lot of maintenance. A lot of tires. I think we had 6 or 7 tires to change over the winter. But you know what? It's a long winter. It's just starting. And we'll get it done step by step. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. And I think that muffler thing worked out pretty good. And we've got most of our white. Now, by the way, I was saving, just as a point of reference, I leave the tank on right to the last minute, because just before I take the tank off, I want to run the bike. And I just a habit I have. I'm sure it doesn't do much, but I always do like to run each one of the bikes about once every maybe 3 weeks. If it warms up, gets up to over 40, let them run for about 10 minutes. I just think circulating that oil, and keeping the float bowls filled, you don't get those little Viton little needles drying out. Anyway, just my own little prejudice thing from owning a real aeroplane where that was the routine. Anyway, and we're thinking, as I'm out here freezing, I'm thinking, Karen's already got something delicious for lunch. And what am I doing out in a cold garage? Anyway, again, thanks for watching.